Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this informational town hall meeting. My name is Patrick Maynard. I'm an emergency manager with the Ventura County Sheriff Office of Emergency Services. And thank you for coming out today to spend your afternoon with us. Hopefully, when you leave here today, you'll be full of all kinds of good knowledge on debris flows, evacuations, and all that good stuff. So please sit back, relax. We got about 6 presentations for you, and it all should be good stuff. Before we get started, I'd like to invite Supervisor Steve Bennett up to say a couple words.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm sure this is exactly what you wanted to be doing on your beautiful Saturday afternoon, but we really appreciate you taking the time to come and get this information. As we've all seen during these emergencies, when these professionals get in there and have to move fast, the more informed you are, the better off you're going to be in the long run, because the better they will be able to help you. And so for you to take the time, and we really do believe that when the emergency really hits, when the big earthquake really hits, we're all going to be on our own for at least a while. And so you're taking that important first step in terms of getting yourself informed. So we really appreciate that. Thank you very much. I also just want to, on behalf of the citizens of Ventura County, thank these professionals. They've been going flat out since that fire, December 4th. There are 3 meetings here today. All right, so they're doing this 3 times, and they tailored each one to each specific area. That's a remarkable commitment to do over and over again. And there's a lot of people here working 7 days a week and everything else. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd just appreciate if you help me give them a hand, right? Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. And thank you. With regards to this presentation and everything, they're going to do a great job. I just want to point out to you that we have training. We have CERT training. That's for Citizens Emergency Response Teams. And we will have one of those classes starting in the middle of April. If you're interested in that, contact my office. We have about 400 people in the Ojai Valley that are trained in Citizens Emergency Response Teams. And it's one of the best things that you can do to get yourself ready to take care of yourself and your neighbors when there is a disaster, because I'll give you a classic example. In the city of Ventura, that fire was roaring down in the city of Ventura in about 6 different places, right? Each place needed about 40 or 50 fire engines to be able to defend any one of those. There are only 6 fire engines in the whole city of Ventura. There will be, when the disasters hit, you're going to be on your own. So if you're interested, contact my office and we'll put you on the list. And when they have the specific days, you could join those 400 people that are already trained in Ojai Valley. Is Betsy here from Hannah Beth Jackson's office? All right. No. Okay, good. I was going to try to introduce her. And then this presentation is going to be Area 10, which is above the city of Ojai, coming down. And I'm just happy that we have a great working relationship with the city of Ojai. So it's very seamless in terms of being prepared for the emergencies, et cetera. And I want to just thank the city of Ojai, and they have some staff people here that'll be able to answer questions that you may have specific to Ojai after this. And with that, thank you very much, Patrick. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Supervisor. All right, so with that, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. As the supervisor mentioned, this is being recorded. It will be on our website, which you're going to hear a lot about today. That website is vcemergency.com. So within the next week or so, give or take, we hope to get this posted on the website. It will also air again on either Channel 8 or Channel 10, your local access channels as well. So we're hoping to get this information out to as many people as possible. In addition to that, hopefully you all picked up one of these green sheets today. If you have questions, please write those questions down and save them for the end of the meeting. To keep things going, today we're going to try to get all the presenters through, at which point at the end we will be doing a question and answer session. So write those questions down. We'll collect those and we'll answer them. We'll give them to the respective speakers and make sure we do our best to answer them. So with that, I'd like to invite up Mr. Glenn Shepard. Glenn's the Ventura County Public Works Watershed Protection District Director, say that 3 times, and he's going to be doing a presentation on the debris flow risk.
Good afternoon. So long title, right? Ventura County Public Works Agency Watershed Protection District. That's where I work with. But really here to represent Public Works Agency, because beyond just the Watershed Protection District, Public Works is an integral aspect and team member when it comes to preparing for and flood fighting as we go forward and integrate within the Sheriff's OES system to provide that level of protection. I have a brief here, a few slides to go through that are going to be a scene setter, and you'll see some terms that I won't really go into a lot of detail because of the Sheriff's OES personnel here. We'll go into great detail with respect to the websites, communication, and alert status. I'll go into debris flow. So from a general perspective, the vegetation's all burned off, and a technical term that occurs is hydrophobic. Has anyone heard that term, hydrophobic? So we're all going to know this term because it hasn't rained a lot this winter. So this condition is likely to continue into the next year. Hydrophobic is the aspect of the soil burning on the top, where the vegetation and gases associated with the burning soil create a hydrophobic layer which repels the water and creates opportunity for sheet flow like a parking lot. As the water starts to sheet off of this particular layer, it obviously runs on gravity and then starts to concentrate. And this concentration picks up debris flow and sends it on downstream. And as that concentration begins, it picks up rocks, burnt debris, etc., carrying it down and then depositing when the energy runs out, or carrying it out to the ocean, as it may be. Let's talk about the volume. So as there's a lot of burnt vegetation and soil and ash that's up in the watershed, the volume here, as we've indicated, is basically doubled. We call it a bulked flow. And so that aspect, as you'll hear continually further in the briefing sessions after me, you'll hear this term of, hey, we have a higher risk of debris flow and perhaps more flooding opportunities because we have this bulked flow, which contains debris, sediment, and ash. I'm going to show you really the highlight on this slide is the photo on the right. It goes back to the term hydrophobic that I discussed earlier. There you can see about a 2-inch layer of soil that we've chunked out of the ground, and you can see the crusty aspects of it on top of that layer. That's the hydrophobic condition. U.S. Geological Survey has been studying fires for numbers of years, and they've come up with the thresholds that we adopt and incorporate into our modeling and our alert systems for our flood warning system, which measure rainfall and stream gauge flow. And these are the thresholds. The key item that you're going to hear about today is, see this laser pointer is very faint, but 1 hour, 0.5 inch, half inch of rain in a half an hour. That's the key threshold that you're going to hear about. That's our actionable limits that we'll continually talk to you about, and the Sheriff's OES will talk to you about further here. Evacuation zone mapping. This is here just as a scene setter. You're going to see these maps around the room. They're out in front. The Sheriff's OES and a team of experts have divvied up the county landscape as the fire was so expanse into 10 different zones. And obviously, you're all here, great crowd for Zone 10. And as Supervisor Bennett indicated, Public Works Director Greg Grant is here from the city of Ojai. And he's over here. But he's going to have his mapping with respect to flows and impacts through the city limits, that is, that we'll be able to discuss after this series of briefs. This is just a highlight of Zone 10. So Zone 10 kind of goes down the Ventura River, but also includes the city of Ojai and the east alluvial aspects running off of coming out of San Antonio Creek and up above Thatcher School. Zone 10 hazards. Lots of debris flow through the alluvial fans. You see San Antonio, McNeil, Thatcher, Reeves Creek as they kind of flow southwest. roadways. You've been here through other storm events, very, very prone to being cut off in the Ojai Valley. And I lived in Ojai at the time of the 2005 flood, so that was quite an event. But obviously, the whole valley's cut off for a few days, even though the storm comes through, and it's beautifully sunny and warm a few days after, just like today. Localized slope failures, stream bank erosion, primarily along San Antonio Creek, and flooding along creek sides and drainages. And the storm came at a unique time as the Watershed Protection District, the acronym here, completed all of its activities in preparations for a rain season that never materialized. So going into the fire, December 4th, Watershed had completed its activities with cleaning out basins, what it wanted to do with vegetation, et cetera. So I bring that up because as the fire occurred, we now had capacity, both organically and with our contractor network, to go after and do additional emergency protective measures and activity that we've taken on as the weather's been very good at doing further vegetation removal and installing other types of apparatus like debris ballers to catch debris ahead of our channels and basins. And then, as I mentioned, the USGS thresholds, they've been incorporated into our flood warning system, which I'll show you here in a minute. But it activates in a colored sequence. It turns our rain gauges to different colors to alert us on the various thresholds related to the debris. Let's get into the forecasting. Now we're getting into the interface of where the Public Works Agency has geologists and hydrologists embedded into the sheriff's OES during a storm, and they're tied into the National Weather Service, and they routinely have phone calls through a particular event. We also have a qualitative participation forecast, QPF as we call it, and that's a private company, Fox Weather. And what's good about this is we're able to pinpoint locations of where we think forecasted actual rain amounts are in time, which we load into models and then project perhaps where we would see stream flooding in a particular model. We update this every 4 hours, and then we're watching those forecasts against actual rain plots during a particular storm. The rain plot data that we get from our rain gauges is updated every 2 minutes. So it's a very precision-based and highly updated system. I'm going to spend the next few slides talking about the rainstorm that we had. We've had one this year. It was pretty significant and really devastating to the area of Montecito. So National Weather Service, this was their forecast the weekend prior to the Monday night storm. And I'll highlight Ojai was expected, this is the mountain ranges, 5.98 inches was their forecast, so 6 inches. Over Santa Barbara was around 3.5. Ventura was expected to be a little over 3.5. Rainfall totals, this is coming off of our constellation of rain network gauges. So these are the totals. Montecito, 1.59, 1.66, their gauges. Matilaha Canyon, right around 5.5. Ojai proper, right just under 2. And down in Ventura, 0.75. So a little bit off of the actual forecast. These are rain totals. But I want to go back to a very particular time that Tuesday morning. This is 3:30 in the morning. And this is what the picture looked like heading towards Montecito. Whoops. So at 3:30, let me just go back to the forecast as it included significant amount of rain. The reason why we think it was underperforming was it took so long to get here. This particular storm cell and front started fairly late at night. That's why I think the overall totals were fairly low. But here at Montecito, 3:30, we start seeing some good rains coming through. You see Santa Barbara towards Santa Barbara proper, and over in Montecito, it's just barely starting to rain at 3:30. A couple hundredths of inch of rain. 16 minutes later, all the gauges start turning red right around Montecito. Sorry. Montecito, 0.72, 16 minutes later. But the key aspect in this particular slide is what you don't see is they have 0.54 inches in 5 minutes. So that was the significant change in this scenario. And you'll hear all sorts of experts say, well, that was a 200-year event. That was this type of event. It's a very rare event. A little over half an inch of rain in 5 minutes. And 16 minutes later, it's 3/4 of an inch. And that's the aspect. That's a rare event. Had that event occurred a little bit further south, as we watched this particular cell go over the Santa Barbara or the Channel Islands at Santa Cruz, it peaked out at 0.9, but it was an hourly measured event. Since then, we've upgraded the flood warning system rain gauges on the island so that they're tied into our 2-minute rotational update cycle. And that's just come online this past weekend. So a lot better forecasting coming off the island. I'm going to break off of Montecito and go back to vcemergency.com. So this is the interface that has existed for La Conchita. Looked very similar to this after their particular event. And so we've accelerated this as it approaches the zone aspects that the Sheriff's OES has carved out. And so this is particular to Zone 10. So if you go to the Zone 10, and Patrick will get into this detail in a little bit further, but you'll see rain gauges that are particular to Zone 10 at the top, a map, and then underneath that will be a series of information with respect to the evacuation conditions that are present and any road conditions that are present on these zonal maps. Individual preparations, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here either. I just wanted to daylight and start your situational awareness with respect to these terms, ready, set, go, which means in the weather business, start being aware of the weather. Know your local hazards. That's why you're here. Thanks for being here. You're learning about your local hazards to keep informed, keep your situational awareness at peak heightness. And then the website where you can find this information will be at vcemergency.com. I won't go into these individual preparations because there's a whole brief on this aspect. I'll highlight the weather aspects. A couple days before, again, your situational awareness should be creeping up. Start paying attention to the weather. Have your plans already in place. And then in set and go, this is where things really start to go. If you don't have a plan, it's hard to be set and then perhaps even go. And so the key aspect here is VC Alert, which again, you're going to get a whole brief on VC Alert and the whole communication suite that Ventura County, in coordination with the city, will have available to you. And then the go. And you'll hear an exhaustive preparations and actionable work from the sheriff's protocols as they come about and get you prepared to go. And then from that, that's my scene setter is over. Just leave you with the aspects from Highway 101 in 2005 near La Conchita. This highlights mud flow coming across, and this was a non-burn condition. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Greg Grant with the City of Ojai. I'm the Public Works Director there. If you're in the city, you probably know me. But the city did some additional vulnerability maps, which are in the back. So I invite you, if you live within city limits, to stop in the back there and you can look at your individual property to get an idea of your vulnerability, which has got to do with the flows and your risk and so on. You probably know if you're in a flood zone, but this will tell you. So otherwise, we're like the county. We're just me and a 5-man crew, a little different size, but I think we're preparing the city pretty well. And so we did this special study, I think, that might help you feel more comfortable. And we're preparing similar to the county with our local drainages and so on. Thanks.
Small but mighty, Greg. All right, as I mentioned, my name is Patrick Maynard. I'm an emergency manager with the Office of Emergency Services. And my piece in this presentation today is to tell you a little bit about the analysis we're doing, both before a storm and also during a storm. So forecast is dropped by National Weather Service, sometimes 5-7 days in advance. There's rain on the horizon. And right away, we start to hear the media talk about it, right? Oh, Stormageddon's coming. It's going to be big. It's going to be a mess. Emergency crews preparing for debris flows, preparing for flooding, all that good stuff, right? That all starts out 5 to 7 days out. And as we get closer and closer to the storm, we learn more and more about it. So what we're doing from the emergency management perspective is we're gathering all the stakeholders, the fire department, local law enforcement, not just sheriff's office. We work with Ventura PD, Santa Paula PD, everyone that has jurisdiction within the Thomas Fire Burn area. We all get together with our partners from the Red Cross, Watershed, and we analyze this storm. We look at the potential impacts of this storm, and from that, we start to determine evacuation need. I say that because I want you to understand what thought process is going behind how we issue evacuations behind the scenes. A lot of times individuals say, they're just being overly cautious. They're issuing evacuation orders. They don't know what they're talking about. And I will tell you, we do not like to issue evacuation orders. It's not something we look forward to. It is a headache. It's a headache for you. It's a headache for us. We take doing evacuations very seriously. When we do those, please know that this team has met and conferred behind the scenes to discuss that stuff. So as I mentioned, that forecast drops. It's 5-7 days out. There's a number of models out there that the Weather Service looks at that determine or forecast rather the potential impact of a storm. And the closer we get to that storm making landfall, specifically within the 12 to 24 hour period, those models start to come into alignment. So I'll give you this example. 5 days out, one model might say, hey, Ojai, you're receiving 3 inches of rain. You're forecasted to receive 3 inches of rain. Another model might say, hey, you're only receiving 1 inch of rain. And that's not too helpful from our perspective because, gosh, how do we plan for something when models are in complete, disalignment? 12 to 24 hours out, though, those models start to come into alignment, and that picture starts to become more clear for us. It allows us to determine the level of impact. So at that 12 to 24-hour mark, this team is getting together, whether it's at a table or virtually via a conference call, and we're talking about the forecast. We're hearing from the Weather Service. We're hearing from Watershed. We're talking about response capabilities, all on the fly in determining what level of evacuations we need to implement relative to the forecast. Again, what we're looking at and what Glenn alluded to earlier was this half-inch per hour threshold. So hopefully you all received a magnet that looks like this, and it talks about a couple of different thresholds. At a half-inch per hour of rain, we start to see things move. We start to see things happen. Not to say that it can happen with less rain. It's not likely. It is possible. But at half-inch an hour and more, we definitely start to see things move. So you may see there's a number of different map products out there. There's burn severity maps. There's some stuff issued by the Forest Service, some stuff issued by CAL FIRE. It can get pretty technical. It's a good read if you want to take a nap. The bottom line is this. If you're in a fire area, a post-fire area, you should be concerned if the forecast indicates half-inch an hour intensities. Anything greater than that, absolutely. We, as emergency management officials, look for these things in a forecast. Half-inch an hour or greater will lead to both voluntary and mandatory evacuations, without a doubt. So again, that's what we're looking at behind the scenes. And again, when you leave here today, remember that, half-inch an hour. When you hear that, that's important. So our job doesn't stop once that storm makes landfall. Glenn mentioned the rain gauges out on Santa Cruz Island or Anacapa Island. As that storm tracks from west to east and starts to make landfall, we're watching what it's doing. And it's not uncommon to see a storm that actually makes landfall and intensifies right off the coast. So if you ever watch the radar, you might see some green, the big blob of green, and then you might see a little yellow peek through. Then all of a sudden, you see some red develop. And it's not uncommon for those darker colors or the yellow and the red to develop right off our coast. So while the forecast may seem minimal up front, when it gets here, it intensifies. And there's really no way to predict that. What we're doing behind the scenes is we're watching these rain gauges. We're watching them in real time. And I'll just give you this as an example. Let's just say for the coastal areas, the forecast didn't necessitate any type of evacuation orders. So we're looking at it, looks good, seems like it's going to be minimal. The storm crosses the islands, and we see some pretty significant rainfall. We'll take action immediately. That action may only be 30 to 45 minutes ahead of the storm. And the reason why I bring that to your attention is that's where you as individuals have to be prepared to respond. We may be able to give you 12, 24 hours notice. We may be only to be able to give you 30 minutes notice. We may not be able to give you any notice at all. We need to empower you to have the same knowledge that we do, though, and make your decisions. If you feel unsafe, if you feel like there's something that could potentially jeopardize your well-being, take action. Don't wait for us to tell you to leave. If it looks unsafe, leave. The zone maps have been created and grouped with a couple of things in mind. One, jurisdiction. So it makes it a little bit easier to communicate things by jurisdiction. So City of Ventura, City of Ojai, so on and so forth. Second thing in mind is contributing watershed. So a lot of the watersheds in these zones, some of them cross over, but for the most part, the watersheds are kind of grouped together. And third, hazard. So for the most part, for Zone 10, while there is some landslide threat, it's primarily a debris flow threat and a flooding threat. Zone 1, for instance, La Conchita. La Conchita has a landslide threat and a debris flow threat. So it's nice to be able to address the respective zones and speak on their hazards as a group. Another thing, you'll hear about some National Weather Service alerts later. National Weather Service, when they issue a flash flood warning, it interrupts your phone, it interrupts your TV. You get this little alert and it says, residents in the Thomas Fire burn area. Doppler radar indicated, heavy rainfall, so on and so forth. What they will start doing is saying residents of the Thomas Fire burn area, specifically residents in Zone 1 and 2. They'll add that language into their alerts just because the fire is so large. The weather's going to be different in Santa Barbara than it is in Santa Paula. So having these zones allows us to add a little specificity to the forecast. Again, most everyone here within Ojai proper, and then some of the other outlying areas, basically east to the base of the Denison grade, are all Zone 10. VCEmergency.com. This website is your portal into all things related to debris flows in Ventura County. On the website, up at the top, you'll see a Thomas Fire link. Click on that link, and you'll have your different zones. So if you go to Zone 10, this is Zone 4 for Santa Paula, but same principle applies. The first thing you're going to see at the top of that page is you're going to see your local rain gauges. And those rain gauges are in real time. They're going to give you rainfall intervals. So if we just had a storm pass through the area, and in the last 15 minutes, it dropped X number of inches of rain, you're going to see that appear on there. Again, maybe you didn't receive an alert, but you're thinking, gosh, you know what, that was a lot of rain. I'm curious, what was that? Go to that website. That website's going to tell you what you just saw. That'll help you develop a good understanding of what we're looking at, and again, allow you to make some real-time decision-making. We have an entire county to worry about, and we try to do a really good job, but you know what? Sometimes things happen. We may be tied up somewhere else and may not see this. The forecast may intensify with short notice. We want you to have the tools to go in and be able to see these rainfall totals and make your own decisions on the fly, should we not be able to provide you information. In addition to that, you're going to see your evacuation status. So if you reside in Zone 10 and we issue an evacuation order, I'm sorry, but it will be listed on this website. So that'll be all there. And then if you scroll down a little bit further, there's an interactive map. So you've seen the zone maps. The interactive map is the zone map that you've received all in paper copy, but you can actually type in your address and zoom in down to the street level and see precisely where the modeling is that we've added to those maps, courtesy of the watershed folks. Very cool tool. I highly suggest everybody go to this website, check it out, and then frequently visit it, especially during storms. It's a great tool. We've invested a lot of energy into it. So a couple other things I wanted to bring to your attention. Some phone numbers up here. Most importantly, our information line. You may run into a situation where you hear a forecast come about. You may have some questions. Maybe you don't get an evacuation alert and you think you should, or maybe you've been evacuated and you disagree and you're like, you know what? I don't think they're right. I'm not going to leave. Give us a call at 465-6650. We always have representatives standing by that will talk to you about what we're seeing. So maybe you have some doubt and you say, you know what, I'm not buying this. What are they seeing? What am I missing here? And you're maybe thinking about not evacuating. Give us a call and we'll tell you what we're actually seeing. I'd rather have you make an informed decision than be nonchalant about it and just say, they're just being overly cautious, and go to bed and then wake up in a bad situation. That happens all too common. One of our big goals today is building confidence in our ability to alert you. And when we do that, we mean it. We're not just doing it on a whim. We mean it. We've put some thought into it, and we're doing it for your safety. So we ask that you listen when we issue these alerts, and please take them seriously. If for some reason you disagree or you have concern or questions, call that number. There's both English and Spanish-speaking folks standing by in our EOC that are staffing those lines ready to answer your questions. And that's the end of my presentation. So up next, I'd like to invite Gil Zavlodover. He's one of our emergency managers in OES, and he's going to talk to you about alerts and warnings.
Thank you, Patrick. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gil Zavlodover. I'm an emergency manager with the Ventura County Sheriff's Office Emergency Services. I'm also the alert and warning coordinator for the Ventura County Sheriff's Office. And what we're going to cover today, I want to quickly talk about some of the systems that we have in place. So this afternoon, we spent time talking about the hazards, what is public safety doing. Now I want to spend some time to talk about how we're going to communicate that information to the public. And our primary system that I want to talk about is VC Alert. That's our regional emergency notification system here in Ventura County. Show of hands, how many people are registered with VC Alert? That's fantastic. Almost every hand in here was raised. That's great. I'm great to hear that and see that. The next system I want to talk about will be the wireless emergency alert system. This is a fairly new system. It's been around for about 3-4 years. How many people have received a very weird tone to their cell phone? Okay. Probably from Amber Alert, that one of the alerts, maybe from the National Weather Service. I'll talk a little bit about that system. It's newer, and it's getting a lot of headlines lately in the news. So we'll talk about the wireless emergency alert. And then we're also going to talk about the emergency alert system. This is a system that's been around since the 1950s, since the civil defense period, where our messages take over radio and TV. So we'll talk about that one as well. And then lastly, we'll talk about storm alert levels. These are the alert levels that the National Weather Service uses, which is a watch, advisory, or warning. So VC Alert. VC Alerts are a regional emergency notification system. You might have heard it been called reverse 911. So you call 911 to tell us about emergencies. We use this system to let you know that there's an emergency. And we use it quite frequently here in Ventura County. I think the very important thing here to mention is that all 10 cities are participating with the same system. So most of the residents here, show of hands, City of Ojai, almost everybody here is from the city. The City of Ojai participates with this system, just like the other 9 cities. So it doesn't matter where you are in Ventura County, we're all using one system, which is VC Alert. Another great thing about VC Alert is it's our ability, it's a very robust system. We can send a message to thousands of contacts within seconds. Just to give you an example, for the Thomas Fire, we sent 66 VC alerts to over 100,000 contacts, and we evacuated 90,000 people. It was incredible. The system functioned very, very well. very efficiently. We didn't see any issues with the system, which was great to hear. Now, there were some people didn't receive our alerts based on the electricity going down, which can happen. It's a disaster. Infrastructure can be impacted, but the system itself functioned very well. Another great thing about VC Alert is you're in charge of your own profile. You can go to our website, and my next slide will cover the ways you can opt in, but you can add up to 5 addresses per profile. So one person, you can add up to 5 addresses. It's based on your home address. If there's a threat to your address, we use this system to communicate with you. So the first address you want to put in there is where you're residing, not a P.O. box number. We don't care where you receive your mail. It's where you live. You want to add that number into the system. You can also add addresses of loved ones. And they don't even have to be in Ventura County. If you have a loved one who lives outside of Ventura County and wants to be alerted for a family member that lives in Ventura County, have them register for the system. As long as you reside in Ventura County, this is the system that we use to communicate that, okay? Another great thing is that you can add a number of different methods for us to communicate with you. So landline. Landline's one of the more traditional one. We buy the landlines from AT&T, Verizon, and Time Warner. We buy the listed and unlisted numbers. We don't have cell phone and we don't have email. And we're seeing a trend. A lot of residents are going away from landline phones and they're going to the cellular realm. But we don't have those contacts. So if you're registered in the system, but you're not registered with your cell phones, please register your cell phone. And no matter where you are, if you're in a different state, but there's a threat to your address, you'll get that notification. Another thing about VC Alert that I want to mention, we can get very granular with our alerts. We can alert one home. We can alert one street. We can alert a neighborhood. We can alert a city. We can alert the entire West County of Ventura County, which we did for the Thomas Fire. So the system is very, very robust. It's very efficient. And we've been using it very heavily in Ventura County. How do you register for VC Alert? So we have another number of methods for you to register. First and foremost, we have a website, www.vcalert.org. That's where you can go. That's the portal that you can go, create your own username and password. And this is your own profile that you can create in the system. And you can add up to 5 addresses and all your methods of communication that you want to add. Another way this is a newer system that we put into place, is if you have a smartphone, and to be honest, if you have any phone that has the text message capability, you can text the word VC Alert, all one word, to 313131. You'll get a text message in return. There'll be a link. Click on the link, and then you can add all your information right there from your cell phone and hit submit, and we'll be able to get it and input it into our system. Another way is you can call our hotline. We understand that there's some segments of the population that don't have access to the internet. You can give us a call. There'll be a person who can take down your information and add you into the system manually. So we really want to, and then everybody received in your bag a VC Alert brochure. If you want to write down your information on that brochure and provide it back to us today or mail it to us, we'll take that and we'll add it to the system as well. Okay, so the next system I want to talk about, another tool in our toolbox, is the wireless emergency alert system. What's great about this system is there's no opt-in required. You're automatically opt-in if you have a smartphone. Now, there is a way for you to opt out. I encourage you not to do this, but you can opt out to not receive these alerts. And what's very powerful about the wireless emergency alert system is it's based on cell towers. So if we identify an area that we want to send an emergency notification, we'll send it and it'll hit those it's a private infrastructure, so it's Verizon, AT&T, it's their cell towers. And if you're in range of a cell tower, it'll hit your phone and you'll get our text message. One issue is it's only limited to 90 characters. There's not much we can tell you in 90 characters. And so telling you that to evacuate south of here, north of here, east of here, west of here, we don't have that much detail to provide you. We're not able to. VC Alert, we can provide you a lot of detail, but this system, we can't provide you too much. Show of hands, for the Thomas Fire, how many received our wireless emergency alert? Did you receive more than one? Perfect. We did 2. wireless emergency alerts for the Thomas Fire. That was the first time we ever used the system here in Ventura County. It's been used nationally, but this is the first time we used it here because there is something called bleed over. Because we're relying on cell towers and infrastructure, if we paint our grid and it covers multiple cell towers, that cell tower might have a range 10, 15 miles away. So for example, if we do a wireless emergency alert here in Ojai, or we did nearer to the north coast, Santa Barbara might get our alerts too. So it's very dangerous to say evacuate now, but it's an evacuation for Ojai, but it's getting hit in Santa Barbara as well. So it can cause some confusion. So we work very, very hard. We don't take it lightly to do a wireless emergency alert. When we decided to do 2 of them, it was a decision we didn't take lightly. And when we did it, we said there was a brush fire north of Ojai. Visit our website for more information. We made it a little bit more generic to get your attention, and then you can go to our website to get more information. That's kind of how we're going to be using it moving forward. Now for storm events. The National Weather Service, this is a federal program. So it's not just Ventura County who can use it. It's a federal program, so the federal government can use it. The state uses it. The one that uses the most is California Highway Patrol for Amber Alerts. In a storm event, if a flash flood warning is going to be issued, and I'll cover that a little bit later in the slides, what flash flood warning means, but this is the exact message you're going to receive on your cell phone for a flash flood warning. So I'll just read it quickly. Flash flood warning, this area till, and in brackets it says time frame, the National Weather Service will add the time frame of the alert. Avoid flooded areas, check local media, NWS, which means National Weather Service. So we always try to tell you who is sending this alert so you know. Now, emergency alert system, like I mentioned earlier, it's been around since the 1950s. It's one of our oldest communication systems that we have in place. And this is the system that takes over AM and FM radio and cable and TV. For the Thomas Fire, we issued 2 of these emergency alert system messages. And it takes over for the radio, KVTA 1590 AM, KHA 100.7 FM, and KMLA 103.7 FM, which is the Spanish channel. And on your TV, that's what's going to pop up. Emergency alert system, National Weather Service, issue a flash flood warning. And it'll take over your TV. And on the radio, you'll get those tones before it says what the message is. And the last part of my slide deck is the storm alert levels. So the National Weather Service, for storm events, they have 3 levels. The lowest level being a watch. And in this level, its conditions are favorable for flooding. They may issue a flash flood watch probably around 2 or 3 days prior to the storm. So Glenn mentioned the ready, set, go. That's probably the ready part, right? We're about 2 days out. They see a storm coming. They don't have too much details, but to be safe, they'll issue a watch. And the action here is be alert. Stay tuned for more information. So that's really the ready phase. Next, when they get a little bit more information, this might be a couple hours out from a storm coming in. They see the storm has maybe some impacts. They might issue a flash flood advisory. Specific weather event that is forecasted to occur may cause nuisance flooding. So in this phase, we want you to be aware and we want you to exercise caution. And the most important alert level is a warning. Under a warning, flash flood is imminent or it's occurring. This might be a little bit too late. This might be the 30 minutes, 45 minutes before it coming. This is the go phase, right? If you get a flash flood warning, if it's safe, you need to get out. Move to high ground is what we want you to do. And if you can't leave and you have to shelter in place, stay where you are. You want to get to the highest point or the safest point in your house. If you have a second level, get to the second level because you might experience some flooding. And thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation. Patrick.
Up next, I'd like to invite Ojai Chief of Police, Captain Jim Freihoff, who will be talking about evacuations.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. I'm glad to see so many hands went up for VC Alert because I think now at about 5 or 6 council meetings, I've talked about the need to sign up for VC Alert. And now that I've got you to do that, what I'm going to add to my presentation now before I forget is we can lose infrastructure during storms and during fires. You may lose power. We may lose internet connection. So you still have to rely on yourself for what's going to be safe. I know the Upper Ojai group, when the fire started, they didn't get the advance warning because the fire happened and then it burned right there right away. By the time we got to Ojai proper, we had some time to get ahead of it and do evacuation notices. But when you're at the center of a fire, we don't necessarily have the time. So you really have to be aware of your surroundings, be prepared to take action. The Ready, Set, Go program is something that I encourage you all to be prepared for, right? Get a kit, make a plan, be prepared. So have a kit ready, and that kit should include a wind-up radio so you can listen to the emergency alerts if you lose all other power. Remember, you always have, if you have a vehicle, if the power is out in your house, a lot of times you can power up the car and potentially listen to the radio there or charge your cell phone if you need to. But even in the fires, we lost, the radio stations lost their antennas as well. So just be aware, be prepared that there's no bulletproof system out there that's technology driven. Be aware of what's going on, pay attention to the storms, and especially right now, because of the fire that burned all around our valley, puts us at risk of debris flows. So the half an inch an hour is the amount that we want you to pay attention to. And of course, that could be, a quarter of an inch in 15 minutes or less. So that, just remember, that number is movable. So the alerts that we're going to use is VC Alert. That's our primary go-to for letting you know that we have either voluntary or mandatory evacuations, and that's what we're going to use to communicate with you. We have a lot of people in our valley. There's 7,500 residents in Ojai proper, then I've got another 30,000 in the unincorporated area, and I've got 5 deputies in the valley. I don't like those odds of trying to get to your house and knock on your door, right? Now, we're going to know, at least with a storm, generally speaking, we're going to have a couple of days of advance warning that the storm is coming. With a fire, we had no warning. It just started. So with the storm, what we did for this last one was we upstaffed. We had an additional 20 deputies here in the valley, along with our search and rescue teams, that were prepared to do evacuations if we needed to. Now, we got very fortunate that storm stayed north and then it went northeast of us, so we didn't have a direct hit, so we were very fortunate. I know we need the rain and we need a lot of it. I just don't want it all at once. So if you have a voluntary evacuation notice, we're not going to come to your doors to let you know. That's going to be just strictly on a VC alert for you to be aware. This is the time where if you move slow, you have pets, some type of disability, or other challenges, that may be the time where you decide, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and leave under this voluntary order. Once we do the mandatory evacuation, your time for getting out is substantially less. It could be much shorter than we all want. Generally, we're going to try and do 4 hours because we want to make sure we're accurate of the totals that we're getting. But then that limits how much time we have to come and let you know it's time to evacuate. So we'll do the door knocks if we can. If we can't, it may be us driving down the street with our sirens on, yelling out on a PA saying, get out. Now, one of the things you have to be aware of, we talk about situational awareness. Where do you live within the valley? Are you on a hill or are you at the bottom of the hill? If you're going to evacuate, are you driving into an area that's more at risk because of the flooding we get here? Even on good years, Ojai gets flooded, right? We lose 33, Highway 150, we get isolated here routinely. Sometimes it's only for a few hours, but sometimes it's multiple days. So we have to be prepared for being self-sufficient for numerous days on our own, because we may not get any help for a while because we got to clear the roadways first. So we'll do the door knocks when we can. The emergency alert system, once again, will be through your television and your radio. And then the wireless emergency alerts, if you have a smartphone, then those will go out. Now, I know in Ojai proper, during the fire, we talked about bleed over. When Santa Barbara issued their mandatory evacuation notices, people in Ojai got the evacuation notices, fire, leave now. That was not us that sent that out. That was bleed over from Santa Barbara that was letting their citizens know, but we're close enough in proximity that we got the alert too. So just know it's not a perfect system, but it's a way to notify a lot of people in a very short period of time of a pending disaster. So the voluntary evacuation orders, right? Those mean it's not yet imminent. We're just letting you know you might want to leave if you're slow or you have pets or whatever. This is the time that you want to get out. We're not going to force anybody to leave. We're not going to do any typically road closures. This is just us letting you know, hey, we're getting closer to the thresholds. You might want to pay attention. And there's certain areas that I know that right after the Vista fire that burned down by Casita Springs, because of where their homes are in relation to the hillside, we told them to go, even if we give a voluntary evacuation notice, you should leave, because it's going to go from voluntary to a disaster very quickly. So just be aware of your specific situations. The mandatory evacuation order. This is the one where we're going to try and go door to door. When we say this, like Patrick had alluded to, we mean it. We do not issue mandatory evacuation orders on a whim. These are well thought out, well planned out, and they're based on the best information we can have. Now, of course, none of us have crystal balls, right? I mean, we could see a storm developing and it's tracking and it's 2 hours away and we go, okay, we pull the trigger and say, okay, mandatory evacuations, and then the storm fizzles out. Well, we can hope that'll happen. But at the end of the day, that's the information we're relying on. And when we give a mandatory evacuation notice, it triggers the fact that we're going to open up a shelter. And for Ojai proper, it's going to be Nordhoff High School, right? That's where Red Cross can staff one shelter in the Ojai Valley, and that's going to be Nordhoff High School. So just know that if you are being evacuated from Ojai, and we've made it a mandatory evacuation order, if you're going to go to a shelter, it's going to be Nordhoff High School. We expect that even with massive storms, Nordhoff will be fine. Okay, the roads may be a disaster. We may see isolated flooding on our streets, but the structure itself will be sound. So if you choose, so we can't make you leave. That's the other thing, right? So it's a mandatory evacuation. We cannot make you leave your house. I'm also not going to get into a great debate with you. Once again, we have 35,000 people to evacuate, and I have limited staff. We're going to come and say, it's a mandatory evacuation. You need to get your stuff and get out. And you're going to say, I'm not leaving, I want to stay. That's fine. What's your name and what's your phone number? Then I can say that we notified you and you chose to stay. That's on you. And then I'm going to leave. I'm not going to talk. Patrick gave you the number. If you want to have a great debate, you call them, and you can debate with them while we're going and notifying everybody else. Shelter in place order. So one of the things that we've done, and Gil had mentioned this, is that we can get down to the granular level within cities. There's going to be areas that when we choose to do an evacuation that you may get a notice that says to shelter in place. You're maybe at the high ground. We want you to stay where you're at. We just don't want you to get on the road. Because if you get on the road, there's going to be flooding. There's going to cause traffic for the people that do need to get out that are at lower level areas. Because if everybody in the valley decides to leave all at once, it's not going to happen. We're going to have congestion, right? We have congestion on good days. So soft road closures. This is generally we're going to just have a couple signs up, and it's going to say, hey, only people that have ID are going to be allowed in. We'll let the people that live there get back to their homes once we feel it's safe. The hard closures. Oh, I think I went past it. Hard closures, we're not letting anybody in. There's either imminent risk for people that are in there, or there's people working that are going to be put at risk by having cars go through there, so we won't let people in. During the fires, when we closed off Highway 33 down by Casitas Vista, it wasn't so much that you couldn't drive. The road was not touched, but there were firemen running back across the highway that I don't want getting hit by cars. So yes, we don't want you to go home, but it's not because I don't want you to get to your house with your groceries. It's because I don't want you to run over my firemen that are trying to put a fire out. So you can be mad at me all you want. I mean, we're used to that, right? I mean, I expect it. But know that we're doing it because we're trying to protect people. The people that we are not going to stop are the media. 409.5D allows them to have access to areas that are closed. They're allowed special access. That's one of the rules, so that they can get information to the public, but they're doing so at their own risk. We're not going to escort them in. We're going to tell them it's dangerous, and if they choose to go on their own, then that's on them. So VC emergency we've talked about before, and this was one of the things that during the fires that came up about what was the city staff doing. So city has an EOC, a very small EOC, right? They have about 6 people in the city that work in the EOC, and then once they open it, it's a 24-hour operation. So you divide your 6 into half, so you've got 3 people working round the clock, answering phones, and then providing whatever resources the city has to the greater fight. And in this case, there were some evacuations during the fire that needed to be done, and it wasn't even within the city itself. But we called the city resources, and Greg Grant got a hold of the trolley drivers, and we used trolleys to evacuate people that needed to be evacuated. So that's their role in a disaster, is to help the greater cause of the Emergency Operations Center that's in Ventura, that has all the stakeholders there, shelling out information and giving the resources that we can at those specific levels. The information for any evacuation or road closures is going to be on this. VC emergency is where it's going to go. It's not perfect, right? I'll be the first to say that the minute the road closes, it's not going to show up on that. It's going to require somebody to call somebody and say, can you add this as a road closure? And then 5 minutes later, we may open it. And then 5 minutes later, we may close it. That's just the nature of disasters. So it's never going to be just perfect, and it's not going to be right away. I know in today's instant information society, that's what we all want, but it's not realistic. We're dealing with life safety issues and not necessarily information issues, right? This is a nice to have, not a have to have. The have to have is when I say you need to leave now. and then I'm going to knock on your door and say, please leave now. That's what you need to know. Property and all those other things, although we want to protect your properties, that is not our primary concern during a disaster. Our primary concern is your life. We can always restore property, but I cannot restore you. And so fire, ourselves, put your public works directors, all the information that we put out and what we're trying to accomplish is everything we can do to keep you safe. So make sure you have flood insurance, have property insurance, because once we do evacuations, can looting happen? Absolutely, looting can happen. But generally, when we do an evacuation like we did with the fires, we bring in extra staff to patrol those areas. During the fires, I think if any heard me speak before, we normally have 5 deputies in the valley. During the fires, I had 55 deputies patrolling the Ojai Valley on a rotating 12-hour shift. 5 of them are still handling calls for service because we still have issues to go deal with, right? We're still having domestic violence, we're still having theft, we're still having all those other things that occur every day. But then in addition to that, we had 50 extra deputies up here driving around looking for people who did not belong or that were driving in patterns that were suspect because they weren't trying to get to a place. Okay, that's in my presentation. So I think I'm done for now. I know I'm sure you'll probably have questions, but I'm done.
Thank you, Captain Freihoff. And up next is Division Chief John McNeil from the Ventura County Fire Department.
Good afternoon. As introduced, John McNeil from representing County Fire, Ventura County Fire. Also here was Battalion Chief Todd Leake. He's the battalion chief for the local area. His office is out of the Oakview Station. He just took off on a call, but we're hoping he'll be back in time after we have finish our presentation, and you can ask him one-on-one questions if you'd like. Also here from County Fire is our Public Information Officer, Captain Stan Ziegler, and he's recording this for your viewing afterwards on the Ventura County Fire Department's website, which is vcfd.org. This is real risk. I think it's been presented well from the experts that not only respond to these, but forecast them. And it speaks to the team effort. And we're all part of this team, residents. And I love the representation here. It makes me feel good that you want to learn more. You want to be a good team player in this game or event. Game's probably not the right term to use, but common effort. How about that? So with that, the challenge today for us is making it seem real. When we have 80-degree weather out there and blue skies, it's hard to talk about debris flows and the potential hazards. But what I can speak to is, in my career with fire, I've been to every one of our local landslides, debris flows in the county, and that's Camarillo Springs, La Conchita, and then just recently I spent almost a week and a half in Montecito. And the only reason I mention that is, again, to get everyone's attention and their situational awareness up. But Montecito, you can watch it on the video, videoing the damage on TV. You can look at pictures. But when you see it and you talk to the people that survived it, it's hard to fathom. And that's what I took away from it. And what I do in my profession is I take those stories and I try and use them to be better on a response side and a preparation side. So that's why I'm sharing those stories. 2 stories that came out of Montecito, just real quick, is we're asking you to prepare for a debris flow, but what we're really asking you to do is prepare for any disaster. And your plan will be specific to what we're anticipating, but all of the recommendations on the Ready, Set, Go process can be used across all disasters. But in Montecito, the residents were preparing for a debris flow for heavy rains to cause some kind of issue. What initially started the disaster was the debris flow, but it dislodged a high-pressure gas line. And not a gas line, a small line that comes to your house, but one that feeds a whole neighborhood. In the end, we had houses burning, I think 1 or 2 to be specific, and we had residents, because it was early in the morning, 4:30 or around that time, and we had people that were burned. So that's not something we would have planned for, right? So I'm just asking you to really, really widen out your vision when you're putting your plan together. The other thing I noted in Montecito is one of the houses, and you may have seen it if you've seen any of the footage from the disaster. It was a 2-story house that was sheared in half, and the upper story had what appeared to be a small girl's bedroom, and it had a bookshelf that wasn't disturbed at all. And as a matter of fact, the contents on the bookshelf weren't even moved, and the house was sheared in half. This is a 2-story house, and the boulders that I assume did the damage were as big as the cars we drove here to the meeting. So That's the magnitude, that's the risk we're dealing with. So the encouragement from the fire department and all the agencies here is to prepare for it, right? So the fire department has a Ready, Set, Go program, and it's this pamphlet, and if you didn't get one, they're on the table, so make sure you get one when you leave. And if you want a digital version of that, they're on the website also, with more specific details of what each of those components of the Ready, Set, Go mean and how to use them to put your plan together. So on the ready part of that, that's the preparation phase of the three-step plan. So getting ready means, let me back up just one minute here. So when you're putting your plan together, no different than your public safety responders, your first responders, we respond with priorities in mind. And the priorities rarely change on any of the risks that we're going to, but the top priority is protection of life. So I'm asking you to protect your life, your neighbor's life, give us a chance to protect our lives when we're coming in there to assist you. So protection of life, preservation of property, that's taking care of your house, your property, your neighbor's house. One of the things you could do there, we do have sandbags. You've all, I assume you have heard about sandbag campaigns. Each of your fire stations, your local fire stations, have sand and sandbags, and they have staff there to help you fill them, load your vehicle, ask them how to place them. There's details, there's specifics on how you place them and get the maximum benefit of sandbags. So the ready is just as it states, it's getting ready, it's preparing. During that phase, you're also listening and tapping into all the information that was presented here today on the forecasting and potentials. The set part is really that transition phase. We're all anticipating some type of disaster potentially triggered by a weather event. So we have the time, especially on the weather events, we have some time. This is no different. This conversation is no different than a wildfire as far as preparation for it and forecasting. If we have hot, dry winds, good chance brush is going to burn and it's going to threaten our lives and our houses. So the set part is just that transition phase, because when it's time to go, just like you expect your first responders to be ready to go when you call 911, we ask you the same thing. When we ask you to go in the form of an evacuation or some type of alert, we're asking you to go. And it's because of all the calculated thought, conference calling, discussions that the experts have had leading up to this moment. So when it's time to go, please join in the team, take your role in that, and protect yourself, help us protect you, and we'll be successful. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. As I mentioned earlier, we passed out some green cards. If you have questions, we'll have some OES reps kind of walk the sides of the aisles. Please turn those in the next while. Following the disaster preparedness presentation, we'll be doing a Q&A session. So we'd like to get those sorted out ahead of time and ready for the speakers as they come up. With that, I'd like to invite Daryl Smith up. He's an emergency manager in the Office of Emergency Services as well. He's going to talk to you about disaster preparedness.
Good afternoon. Let's talk disaster preparedness now. In the Office of Emergency Services, we like to tell people it's kind of like the Ready, Set, Go, but it's make a kit, have a plan, and stay informed. So if you don't already have a kit already, there's several things that you could put in your kit, but it's going to be tailored to you. Do you have small pets or animals? Maybe you need food for them. Maybe you need feeding dishes. Perhaps you need the AM/FM radio, not just a battery, but also maybe a solar-powered or hand-cranked if you're afraid of the power going out like it did during the Thomas Fire. Prescriptions. If you need prescriptions, you probably want to have about a 30-day supply to travel with because you don't know how long you'll be away from your homes. And food and water. Very important that you have a couple days supply because you need to sustain yourself during these disasters. Make a plan. In the emergency guidebooks that you were handed today in your bags, it talks about a plan. It talks about communicating the plan to the rest of your family members, not just the ones in your home, but maybe, sons and daughters, fathers and mothers. So in a disaster, they hopefully can get a hold of you, or you've called someone that they can communicate with to find out your status. Do you know where all your utilities are? Do you know how to shut them off? All these things will help you in a disaster. Work plans, school plans for your children if they're at school. How do you take care of yourself? Do you have to go home? What if you can't go home? And then that's part of the planning process. We have a website, readyventuracounty.org. It basically mirrors the guide you have and also has even more information. As you can see, you can sign up for VC Alert there. It's got information about vcemergency.com, how to get there, and that's the website. On the right side of the screen, we have an app now. You can download the app to your Apple phone or Android phones, and it's very user-friendly. It mirrors your emergency guide. You can see it has prepare, plan, hazards that we have here in the county, maps and routes that we put on it, how to stay informed, get involved, and the alert down at the bottom, the little red triangle. If you ever see the red triangle on there, you tap it and it gives you the most current weather information or weather alerts for the county. As you can see on the prepare phase, it actually gives you a checklist and you can actually check off things as you accomplish them in preparing. The planning is the same thing. If you need to write your plans, you tap on those and they open up further with lists and things you can do to create your plans. And stay informed. All these are links to sign up for VC Alert, to go to vcemergency.com, and to get information during a disaster. And this is very good because it's very mobile. It's part of your smartphone, part of the technology, and hopefully it's up and running, but you still need to take care of yourselves and don't rely on all these technical advantages that we have. So with that, remember to make a kit, make a plan, and stay informed. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Daryl. And our last presenter, just a quick little plug, is Laura Pickens from FEMA. In case you haven't heard, FEMA's in town. They've been helping us out for quite some time now. Laura actually joined us recently here in Ventura County, but I can tell you in talking to her, she has not been home to her house since September 8th. Where do you live, though? Oakland. In Oakland, and she hasn't been home since September 8th of 2017. So she's really putting in her time, I tell you, and the rest of the FEMA team and back, these guys, I mean, it is a job that is just incredible. They I guess they're used to living out of suitcases because that's what they do. They just travel from place to place. Thank you for what you do, and thanks for being here. Quick little message from her, though.
Thank you. I won't take much of your time. Just want to reiterate that the deadline for FEMA registration is March 16th. It's coming up pretty quick. We're at our 1-month anniversary. So we have a disaster recovery center set up at the Ventura County Credit Union on Telephone Road. It's 6026 Telephone Road. And we also have a disaster survivor assistance team in the back. We can talk to you about FEMA and what we do provide, and we can talk to you about your case files if you need us to, and we can talk to you about registration. So come see us in the back after the questions and answers. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. So I'd like to invite the speakers on up to the front. Now's the time for the Q&A session. So if you have questions, please pass those sheets in. We'll do our best to answer them. The reason we like to do this, it allows us to think about the questions a little bit before we have to answer them on the spot, but it also gives us an opportunity to speak to each other and confer on certain things as well. Some of these questions can be rather detailed, and this is a helpful way for us to do it. So I'll start off with the first one, very simple question. Please state again where and when the recording of this meeting will be available. This meeting will be made available in a couple of places. The easiest place that you've heard us say over and over today for other information is our website, vcemergency.com. So vcemergency.com, within about a week or so, we'll have these videos posted. We've done a total of 5 different town halls, or we'll have done 5 different town halls. This is actually 6 different town halls. This is number 5, and then we have one this evening for another portion of Ojai. All of those videos will be on our website. In addition to that, we'll be providing copies to the city of Ojai. The city of Ojai, my understanding, plans on playing those on their local access channel. So if you get, I believe it's channel 10 locally, whether you're in the incorporated or unincorporated areas, those will be made available online. Ready? Chief?
I'll stick myself out here. First question was on evacuations, specific to how to leave. 33 should be a mudslide area, as is 150. How do we decide where to exit? So when an evacuation order is requested by the first responders and then executed by the rest of the team that have presented here today, the information that comes out is not only specifically which area we want to evacuate, but where we would like to have them go to. So whether we've opened up the shelter, which is, I believe it's, if you do a mandatory, we're going to have a shelter identified, and I can have OES speak specific to that. But as a first responder, when we're out in the area, we see an impact area that we want to evacuate, mandatory evacuation, it's going to come with instructions on where to go. We'll have in mind the blocked exit. So if the highways are compromised, then we will make an adjustment to that location. Hopefully that answered the question. Did you ask it? How specific can we get with that? So it depends on timing and where we are in the event, but our efforts are always going to be to get out the most timely information, most accurate information that we can. Hopefully that answered it. I have one more on this. Okay, there's another. Also, a question on the maps that we have, the Zone 10 in the overall picture. I don't know if is it broken down into subdivisions? And in public safety, we have a common terminology. We talk about zones, branches, divisions, groups. It's common terminology. So we've got this broken into zones. Within that zone, we have different divisions identified. And I just met with Sheriff's Department and the City of Ojai. Caltrans was there, trying to represent all the agencies that could be involved with giving input on how to geographically identify these subdivisions, as it was mentioned in the question. The technical term is division. The thought with that discussion was not to put it on a map. It can add confusion. Too much detail on the map can add confusion for the public to try and decipher. And we didn't want to add any confusion to a situation. When we go to evacuate, we're going to call out Zone 10, Division A, B, and D. And it's going to be that quick on the request. The execution follows up, and it's that much quicker. It's all about efficiency on the request and the execution of it. That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Chief. This question says, why were no evacuation orders issued before the January 9th storm if the debris flow risks were so high in Ojai? And as we mentioned earlier, we look at several factors. In particular, the forecast for this particular area, shy of Matilaha, the forecast for this area did not forecast rainfall rates in excess of ½ inch an hour. In some cases, they were close, and I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, it was about 0.48 inches in some areas. They were below the threshold. It was on the brink of being a potential voluntary evacuation in some areas. But generally speaking, Ojai as a whole, the forecast didn't warrant that action. Again, we watch both before, based on forecasted conditions, and then based on observed conditions. Our mandatory evacuation orders for that particular storm included a mandatory evacuation for Matilaha. Matilaha had 0.74 inch intensities forecasted for that area, and a cumulative total of almost 6 inches. That certainly necessitates a mandatory evacuation. With those types of rainfall, what do you think happened up there? They had debris flows. They had flash flooding. The roads were closed. The roads were closed for about a week up Matilaha Canyon, and it was quite a mess. So that's what we look at, again, on every storm. We try to make sure that we assess each one of these individually for their impact. This second question says, does it take less rain to trigger a mudslide across Highway 33 than it does to trigger a debris flow in Ojai? In other words, by the time a debris flow is imminent, how likely is it that the exit routes in towns will already be closed? There's certainly a possibility. Again, generally speaking, ½ inch an hour or greater intensities are going to cause a debris flow or a mud flow or whatever you want to call it in any location. It's a possibility that one of those things occurs and isolates you here in Ojai. And then the follow-on question with that was, well, where should I go? The normal shelter in Ojai, especially if Ojai is isolated, is Nordhoff High School. There can be, difficulty there sometimes due to size and number of people evacuated. If you have time and you can get out of the Ojai Valley and it looks like it's going to be a bad storm, and you got family maybe down in Ventura, someplace where you're not locked in like Ojai, take a trip. Go hang out with family for a day or so. It's wise. It's wise. Why landlock yourself if you don't have to? If it's a last-minute thing, then of course, evacuate to the safest place that you can. But again, that's a very dynamic situation to try to describe. Bottom line, ½ inch an hour.
So one of the questions came up was whether or not the Ojai emergency radio is now working. And it's my understanding that it is now working. It got damaged in the fire, and then it was up working during this initial rainstorm. And then during that rainstorm, it had some kind of a system failure. So they've had to replace some parts on the radio, but it's my understanding that it should be up and running again now. Once again, it's not staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't have, a local DJ hanging out on the station. It's our auxiliary communication people, our ham radio operators that get called in, our ACS and DCS teams. And when they come in, they can activate the radio and put messages out. So it's not something where like these messages that you saw here are going to be, once the EOC is activated, those things are going to happen. It's not going to happen that quickly for the Ojai radio system. So I would say for an emergency, defer to these radios. After things have gone on for some time, you can check the Ojai radio, and then hopefully we'll be broadcasting by then or having a message aired on it by then. But once again, we don't have a full-time DJ.
Good afternoon. I got several questions regarding debris flow. Thank you. With regard to Stewart Canyon and things that are locations that are in the city, I request that you go back with me and I'll get with Greg Grant and we can address those specifically in the back. Question regarding the how many years we're going to have on this particular event. Well, it hasn't rained this year, so in general, we're talking, probably 3 to 5 years. But this year it hasn't rained, so if it continues to be like this, next year will be a 1-year burn event. We're going to be in the same spot we are. It looks nice and green in the valley along the roads, but if you look up in the hills, there's very little green. It still looks gray and ashen and brown. So I'm not expecting a lot of vegetation without a lot of rain. So next year, again, we're going to go through a long summer with no rain. We need to probably have some more of these events going into the fall. So we are bringing back our situational awareness where we are today, because we will forget after a nice lengthy and warm summer. Another particular question to Black Mountain, and I can address that in the back. A couple questions regarding maybe some other products you've seen from USGS with respect to burn severity and maybe some flow debris mapping that they have regarding the risks, and they divided their risk into low, medium, high. Again, here we're trying to give you the best information with regard to actionable intelligence, which is 0.2 inch of rain in 15 minutes, and really the actionable component of a ½ inch of rain in an hour. Those are the actionable pieces that you need to digest and start looking around. Because in general, if you're in a low, medium, or priority based on some other products, whether they're federal or state or otherwise, it's still a risk, and you have to digest that and apply it to your unique location where you particularly are located. And that's it for mine.
Okay, one of the questions here was, what are the best ideas if there's a power failure? Like we said, being prepared. If you can afford one, a small generator, perhaps a power inverter for your car. Do you have an RV maybe? You can sit in and maybe power up. But when the power goes down, there is a website available for Southern California Edison. You can go to their website, and it lists all the power failures and maybe can give you an update on whether or not, how soon the power is coming back on. But when your power goes out, your power goes out. And depending on what you need to keep powered, you may just need a small generator. But let's say you have, huge refrigerator freezers, or very expensive wine cellars, I don't know, and you need to power those. That's what you need to think about, but you need to plan for that on your own. Another one is, do we want homeowners to turn off their utilities, gas, electric, and water? If you safely can do it and know how to turn it back on, we don't want to create any incidents just because you turn off and, you have to relight your pilot lights and all the things that go with turning the utilities back on. As long as you're familiar with that and you feel comfortable, sure, it helps us out. Okay, what about homebound seniors without assistance? What help is available? A lot of times what I'll tell you is to have a plan in place with your neighbors, perhaps family members that can get to you in time. You can call your local fire station and make them aware if they can help you. You can call our dispatchers. We have EMS in the EOC with us, and we can help assist if people cannot evacuate on their own. We can send wheelchair lift capable vehicles. We can send an ambulance if it's somebody on hospice or that is bedridden. But these are the things the sooner we know about that we're able to help with. And so first of all, though, let your neighbors know, let your family know, and then if it does become an emergency, then let us know. And does our agency provide emergency plan kit training on a small area, block, neighborhood basis? We don't have a large staff in OES either, but we're more than happy to provide you materials and PowerPoint slides or any information we can to help you with your small groups or neighborhoods if you want to plan and prepare. You can call us. We'd be more than happy to talk to you and provide you any materials we can to help you out. But our fire partners over here just said CERT training. Your communities have CERT training. You're more than welcome to attend those training events, and they will go through all these things with you as well. And that's all I have.
I have a question related to if you're actually caught in a debris flow or your house is surrounded by a debris flow. Should I get up into the attic or onto the roof? I would hope it's not part of your pre-plan, but you'll have to take action at times. Obviously, our plans aren't all perfect. We can't expect or plan for everything. But if that's the case and you have to get to higher ground and your higher ground is your attic or your roof, just know that for us to rescue you in that situation, it's also a high-risk situation. We either have to bring boats in there and dodge boulders and cars and everything else that's coming downstream, or most likely fly a helicopter overhead and lower down a basket. You have to climb in that basket with help, of course, and then we're gonna pull you back into the helicopter if they can fly in that weather. So to answer the question, yes, if you have to get to higher ground and that's your only option, I would recommend getting to the attic or the roof and then get ready for the ride out. So thank you.
Okay, so I believe that concludes all the questions that we have submitted here. Again, if there was something specific that wasn't answered pertaining to a specific issue, feel free to contact us. We're all going to be here after. Again, please visit the City of Ojai in the back. They've got some even more detailed modeling they'd love to share with you. And in closing, I'll just say this. It takes a village to do this kind of thing, and we've been blessed with some great folks throughout this room. A couple of people I haven't mentioned. Cal OES, they've been partners in crime since day one on this. Ginny Novak from the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. Our partners at Red Cross, the City of Ojai, everyone's just been awesome in this. And the last part of that village is you guys. We need your help helping you. We want you guys as part of our team. We want you to be informed. We want you to be safe. We want you to spread the word. Share what we've shared with you today. With your family and friends that live nearby. And please take care of each other out there. With that, thanks for coming. Again, this will be available online, and have a great weekend.